Banshee is a little Warframe. She works as a weapon platform that provides huge amounts of crowd control. Let's talk about the skills. Her passive automatically silences all of our weapons. Her first ability, Sonic Boom, casts a wave that pushes and ragdolls almost all types of enemies, including demolishers. These can be a good survivability tool in case we have enemies close to us, allowing us to just push them away. There is also an augment mod, Sonic Fracture, which allows us to fully armor strip enemies, but to be honest, we deal so much damage that we don't even need it. The second ability, Sonar, allows Banshee to deal billions of damage, so much damage to turn into negative numbers. Banshee applies weak spots on enemies, and by hitting them our damage will increase greatly. Be aware that the sonars turn the whole body part into a weak spot, not just the highlighted area. We can also spam the ability to cover the enemies with sonars, and they can overlap, multiplying our damage for each one. Let's explain this with an example. If we have a weapon that deals 5 damage and our sonar is a 10 times multiplier, then our bullets will deal 50 damage on the weak spots, and then if another sonar overlaps on the first one, our damage will be 5 times 10 times 10, which will equal to 500 damage. And be aware that also gas and electricity are boosted by the sonars as they hit specific body parts. In addition, thanks to the augment mod resonance, we will be able to spread sonars constantly whenever we kill our enemies affected by them. I recommend using a bright energy color to make sure you see the weak spots. The third ability, Silence, creates an aura surrounding us that does multiple things. The first one is stunning enemies and locking them into a stun animation. The second thing is limiting the enemy's perception and intelligence, and the last thing is locking enemies from using their abilities, like throwing grenade at us, Eximo's abilities, or even Acolyte's abilities. Let's talk about enemies' perception and intelligence. To make it simple, we can basically say that silence will make our enemies dumber, half blind and half deaf. To elaborate on this, let me also show you an example. If we have an enemy shooting at us, we can cast silence to stun the enemy and go behind him, and our enemy, after the animation stun, will not see us in front of him anymore and basically forgets about us, in addition to have limited sight and hearing as long as he's in the silence aura. If the enemies get out of silence aura and come back in, they will be locked on the stun animation again, and this can be used to greatly increase our survivability. In addition, enemies affected by silence will be subject to stealth melee damage multipliers as long as they don't see or touch any player or companion. There is also an augment mod, Savage Silence, that increases our finishers damage and allows us to use finishers even on alerted enemies. The last ability, Soundquake, is a channeled ability that creates an earthquake, locking us in place until we recast it or run out of energy. This ability has an augment mod as well, Resonating Quake, which will turn the ability into a single earthquake that pushes enemies back and deals damage based on the distance of the enemies from the epicenter. Banshee's main weakness is survivability if not played well, and her natural way to survive is through crowd control. And that's why, thanks to the Helminth, we can replace Soundquake with Gloom from Sevagoth, allowing us to add another layer of crowd control. Gloom is a channeled ability that will slow down all the enemies in range, and this slow is also applied to the silence stun animation, synergizing greatly and stunning enemies for very long periods of times. If you don't like or own Gloom, some good alternatives are Pillage for Shieldgate and Status Cleansing, or Condemn for Crowd Control and Shieldgate. Lots of people nowadays run Evade from Saito 9, but personally I find it not that synergistic with Sona. The choice is yours. The important thing to understand is that by combining different crowd control tools, we will be able to survive to anything. And for this reason, the Rakta Dark Dagger is by far the best melee weapon on Banshee, thanks to its unique trait, Mind Haze. Mind Haze does multiple things. The first one is reducing the area where enemies can spot us by 25%, which means from 15 meters to 11.25. The second one is absorbing 5% of our damage with the dagger on enemies afflicted by radiation procs and turning it into shields as long as we have at least 1 point of active shield. The last thing is reducing our threat level in relation to our other allies, basically turning us into a low priority target. In addition, by using the arcane melee Rain, we can freeze our enemies whenever we roll close to them. Another way to improve our survivability through our weapons is by using secondary fortifier and augur mods on our secondary weapon. Secondary fortifier allows us to steal overguard from our enemies, giving us additional survivability and immunity to status procs, and the augur mods will allow us to generate some shields whenever we cast an ability. For example, we can run a status priming epitaph equipped with secondary fortifier, amalgam barrel diffusion and augur seeker to improve our mobility and survivability. For a full epitaph build, we use frostbite and pistol pestilence for viral, magnetic mic for magnetic, accelerated isotope for radiation, sure shot for additional status chance, and anemic agility to increase our fire rate. Now let's talk about Banshee's mods and arcanes. Our priorities will be strength to increase the effects of sonar and gloom, efficiency to be able to cast multiple sonars and maintain gloom, and some range for both sonar and gloom. We don't want too much range, because we want silence to stun enemies when we approach them, rather than getting close to them while being shot, giving us a better survivability. Let's look at the mods now. Growing Power, Transient Fortitude and Umbral Intensify for extra ability and strength, Equilibrium, Flow and Fleeting Expertise for our energy economy, Continuity to compensate some of the negative duration from the other mods, Stretch for range, Resonator to spread the sonars constantly, and Prime Sure-Footed to become immune to knockdown. If you don't have it, just run Handspring. For the arcanes, we use Molt Augmented and Arcane Concentration for additional strength and duration. Some good alternatives can be Molt Efficiency if you're missing concentration, or Arcane Erupt or Circumvent if you feel like you need more survivability. For the Archon Shards, we use 5 yellow ones for additional casting speed to be able to spam sonar quickly. Banshee is a very active frame, and if used well, she can definitely be one of the best in the game. If you liked the video, don't forget to leave a like, and if you want to support the channel, please consider subscribing. I am planning to release more videos. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comments. Thank you, Tenno. Have a good day.